Women Making Waves.
Susie, spring. Spring is the time where weddings happen. Are you going to any weddings, or do you know of any weddings taking place in the near future?
Not going to, but I do know of a couple of couples getting married. And interestingly, Linda, they're not getting married in some big event. They're actually getting married in a registry office. Now, I think that's rather nice these days, because I'm always frightened of our children spending a lot of money on weddings, and to know that...
A lot of your money.
Yes, a lot of my money, that's right. So it is rather nice that there is such a thing as registry office, and maybe, that's a good possibility.
Yeah, maybe just making it sort of small and quite intimate, really.
Yeah, intimate is probably the word. I mean, years back when you and I were married, we've been married about over 30 years now, but when I got married, it was a duty in a marriage to make a wedding list, so that people could then go to a certain shop, or you give a list of things that you want for a wedding. I suppose it really helped if you didn't have a lot of things where you were getting married. That was the thing to do. But
well, people still do it,
Yeah, they do. You're right. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong in that, I don't think.
No. Well, there's nothing wrong with it. It means that you get what you want, and not... if you're anything like me, for example, I ended up with 2 fondue sets. I've never had a fondue in my life. Probably will never start now. And that's the reason that I took them both to a charity shop 2 weeks ago. Because I just wanted to clear out my cupboards of all the stuff that was just sitting there. And I felt I shouldn't get rid of, because people had been very, very kind in spending probably quite a lot of money in some of these things. But it wasn't ever really going to happen, a fondue at my house. So
that wasn't on your list then?
I didn't have a list. I didn't have a list.
I didn't
have a list. I didn't bother with that.
Yeah.
But I did get a load of stuff that really, my eyebrows were raised at some points. It's just, oh God, no.
That is really funny, actually, Linda, because we got a fondue set, and
you asked
the first
for it,
thing
didn't you? You asked for it.
Yeah, I did. You're absolutely right. It was the thing to have at the time. It was a fondue set, so I can guess why your guest wanted to give that to you. Yeah, 2 of them. Well, that's right. That's also a problem when you don't have a list, because you can tick off when you've got something. And
have you ever used that fondue set?
Yeah, but not for cheese, but for chocolate.
Oh, if you told me that 2 weeks ago, I'd have hung on to it.
Yeah, we used to make chocolate fondue, and I used to mix Toblerone with cream, and it was heaven. It was heaven for about the first bite, and then you thought, oh gosh, that's too sick. Yeah,
it's the diabetes crept in. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But like you, and I don't know if we're allowed to say this, Linda, but you've actually quite sweetly given your fondue sets to charity. And I'm pretty sure I did the same. But if you look at many of these selling websites where you sell your second-hand stuff, those fondue sets now go for a big price.
Now she tells me.
She
tells me about the chocolate, and she tells me I could have made some money. I feel good about giving them to the charity that I gave them to.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Oh, heck.
Yes, you could have done. But, you went with your gut, and your gut was to give it to charity. So I commend you on that, Linda.
Well, I just wanted rid of it, really, from the house. I have this feeling in my head that every bit that I get rid of, the space it takes up, I've got that much more space in my house. It's a really good way of minimising your stuff, actually, thinking like that.
But if we go back to just getting married, I still think the tradition is that you do have a wedding list. Am I right? Have you been to weddings recently that you do get a wedding list?
No, I haven't actually. I'm in that state where I'm sort of waiting for the children and their friends to start having weddings. I haven't quite reached that yet. They're all holding off, all of children in our family, which is no bad thing.
No, it isn't. But if you do decide to get married, it is quite refreshing if a registry office is what you want to do.
Just have everything minimal and just the people you want there, and not great aunt 3 times removed that you haven't met since you were 3, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And also just it's the cost, isn't it? It's the cost as well. If any of my lot decide to get married, the first thing I'd say to them is have it in my garden. Get married in a church or wherever you want to get married, in a registry office, no problem. and then let's have a nice big lunch or dinner at ours. I just think it's so much more intimate. I don't know. I might be wrong. I mean, big events are lovely if you can afford them, but
no, I think you're quite right.
I think it
quite
is
right.
so much
I think
nicer.
you've got better things to spend your money on when you're first married than all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Each to their own. But I had a lovely day. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we got married in a church, and then we had the reception in my husband's family's garden, and it was really nice. What happened to you?
We had a hotel. It was
did you?
Big hotel. Yeah,
wow.
yeah. After the church,
Yeah.
we went to a hotel.
Well,
but in the meantime, we had some photographs taken down by the river. And I will never forget the best man stepping backwards right into the river.
No, he didn't go into the river.
He did. He did.
No.
Well, just one leg. Just one leg. So he's walking about the rest of the day with a very damp sort of foot and up to his knee, actually.
So funny.
I don't know how he managed to do that and step back out again as quickly as he did. But the look in his face is one that... There's a lot of laughing going on in those photographs. And I think that mainly due to that little escapade.
Bless him, poor chap. Do you still see him now? Do you still sort of reminisce about that?
I've never actually mentioned it. I think alcohol might be involved, with the... I'm sure that he snuck off to the bar between the service and the photographs. I'm pretty sure that was what was involved there.
To check the socks.
Might be wrong. Well, certainly afterwards, I don't know what he did. I just forgot about it and let him get on with it.
It is interesting, isn't it? So that's something that went wrong. But how do you sort of get yourself around the fact that things can go wrong at a wedding, like someone stepping into the river? Or...
I think you've just got to see the funny side of it, though, haven't you? I think everyone gets a little bit too stressed out and it's too formal. Yes. If it's informal and something goes wrong, it's funny.
Yes, exactly.
If it's a big formal event and something goes wrong, it feels a bit kind of...
That's right. And you're right, you do have to sort of take a step back.
Like the best man did.
And what would happen if you had gone into the river with one leg with your wedding dress?
That wouldn't have been funny at all. If anyone had laughed at that, they'd have been in deep trouble.
Yeah, you see, there are certain things that... Can we laugh them off?
I think a bride in a long dress is not quite as funny as a bloke in a kilt.
Oh, it was in a kilt.
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a pair of trousers.
No,
so it was just a sock and a shoe.
That's why I mentioned socks. Sorry, I wasn't making that very clear, was I?
No, but it's still added to the moment. But yes. So did he have a spare sock?
I don't know. I didn't check with him. He was probably going around smelling like river for the rest of the day. I don't know.
Just so
damp
funny.
sock.
That really is funny. Him.
But one of the best things about being involved in weddings and things like that is usually you have your best friend there as your sidekick, maybe your bridesmaid or whatever, and it's always good to have these memories to share with your best mates. And we're going to be speaking to two best mates today, actually, Ella Tebbutt and Grace Lowrie, and their conversations and their chats were so good they thought, we're going to turn this into a podcast. And that's exactly what they've done. Quite interesting for us as well, because of course we also do that kind of thing. So we're going to be speaking to Ella and Grace later on.
And of course the same with Joanna Borrett, our next guest as well, because she became quite good friends with a previous guest of ours as well called Little Jo Art. And we will get to hear how Joanna Borrett got in touch with Little Jo Art and how they have just blossomed into really lovely mutual support and great friendship.
And they met, of course, through Women Making Waves, so we're really excited to chat to Joanna now.
You're listening to Women Making Waves radio show and podcast, brought to you by Susie Thorpe and Linda Ness. This show is all about women doing extraordinary things.
We featured Joanna Borrett on Women Making Waves back in March 2024. That's nearly 2 years ago. As a classical composer, Joanna had just premiered her most recent work, which is called Clan. Well, Joanna got in touch with us to update us with something very unexpected. Hello, Joanna.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Person.
Yeah, really lovely to have you here.
So when you recorded the show with us, you spotted another guest and you got in touch with her. Tell us all about that.
Well, because it was a half-hour interview, I did a bit of research before I spoke to you, and I listened to quite a lot of the other interviews. And the person I related to most was Joanna Graham, who calls herself Little Jo Art, who is an artist, but perhaps because she works in the arts, a lot of the things she was saying I really related to and empathised with. So while I absolutely love my job, of necessity, I spend a lot of time on my own, and it can feel a bit isolating sometimes. So after a couple of months after my interview, I just thought I would approach Jo and just see if she might be interested in occasionally chatting in a sort of supportive way, because I felt we had a lot in common. And that has worked out brilliantly. We initially met on Zoom, and then we brought another cellist colleague of mine who runs amazing cello courses in Lewis, and we now meet once every sort of 6 weeks or so, and we usually chat for about an hour, and it's been so supportive. We have so much in common, and it has led to some really wonderful things, and we really feel quite a close friendship. So it's been rather wonderful, and it's as a indirect result of your programme.
I know.
That's
It's amazing.
really chuffed, yes.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you talk about?
I think sometimes the pressures of working on your own, the sort of work we're doing. Jo is brilliant at really encouraging people that they all have their own individual voice, following their own voice. It's helped me a lot with things like imposter syndrome. I mean, I've got much better at it. I think imposter syndrome, it's quite good to have a little bit of it because it keeps you grounded, but, you know, too much can actually be quite painful. I think general issues to do with that and how we see ourselves in the sort of working world, which is still quite prejudiced against women in many ways. And I think if you're doing well, even though that can be really great, it often feels like you're breaking into new ground, and it just gets to be one more challenge after another. And so with Jo and my friend Catherine, it feels somewhere safe where we can really talk about how we feel and support each other in ways that just feel wholly beneficial.
Yeah, so you look forward to these chats, I'm assuming.
Really do. I think because we all work in the arts, there's so much that we have in common. There's so much, even if it's family, or however much we love your family, like my children, for example, they don't work in the same area. So there's a lot of stuff they wouldn't understand. But when you have friends who really do work in that area, they really do understand right away. And I suppose I'd like to encourage other people to say it's worth taking that bit of courage, and just if you feel you'd like to do something like this and it's a stranger but you think you have a lot in common, it might be worth just emailing them, because they can only say no, because good things may really come of it. And you may find they are really enthusiastic about the idea. Yeah. But it did take a bit of nerve to start with.
But it is, that's the thing, isn't it? It's just asking what could possibly go wrong. Someone could say no, and then you move on. But sometimes for a lot of people, the no is quite the hard one, isn't it, as well, not to have that. But I think you just have to try, and credit to you for having and bringing you guys together.
Yeah, I think no is tough, but I think it's even worse to sort of think, in later life, look back and think, what would have happened if I had just done this? Maybe this would have happened. At least you know if it's not going to work out, you know, and you can go on to something else and learn from it.
You talk about working on your own quite a lot. Obviously, that's the nature of you and the people that you've got to know. Do you find now that you've got better at accepting you work on your own? Do you find, you were saying about an imposter syndrome, and you said that it's not so much now, but do you find that there are a lot, by talking to other people, there are a lot more people like you who feel the same way, but it's not such an issue now as it was?
I think probably lots of people feel the same way and don't talk about it. So it's very good to have some people who you feel it's safe to talk to. I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably individual, and I think with me it's sort of up and down, and it's because I haven't been a composer very long. But the more challenging things I do, the more insecure I feel. But weirdly, I had COVID really badly back in December, and for some reason feeling so ill. After I got better from that, some of the imposter syndrome just went. I suppose I just felt, well, life's too short.
Yeah.
Stop doing this. Just get on with it, and which was one positive but weird side effect of having COVID.
I'm sorry you had that.
We could add that to medical journals, really, couldn't we? It's amazing.
I think sometimes when you're feeling really low and really, really ill, you sort of, it cuts all the rubbish out and you think what really matters, and you sort of start thinking, oh, why am I getting in such a state about it? Just just do it. So,
And actually, Joanna, I think you're one of the few last people who should be having imposter syndrome, because you're very successful and you're great at composing. You're a really good musician. So, don't feel like that. Just stop.
No, that's coming
stop
from
now.
Linda. Yeah. And I can tell you, she doesn't have an imposter syndrome. She just gets on with it.
No, I think it's true. And it is getting better. It is getting better. It's getting much better. Yeah.
And little Jo as well. And unfortunately, she couldn't be with us in the studio at the moment, which is a real shame, actually, because it would have been lovely to have met her as well.
Yeah.
She does art. So it's a different thing to you, really. She does art, and she works a lot with keys and locks and things like that, doesn't she? Is she still doing that at the moment?
She is. She's doing it. She's developing some new ideas. I bought one of her drawings, The Key to Good Fortune, which I've got in my bedroom, actually, and it really brings me good luck. She does wonderful work, so I definitely recommend go to her website. And she's also starting a new venture which she could explain much, much better than I can. But basically it's more to do with, she will do readings for people where she draws and picks up vibes and empathy from the person and will make them an individual drawing based on them. It's a new idea. I'm not sure whether she's even fully launching it yet, but she's doing that idea as well as her beautiful key paintings and key drawings. So I wish she was here to be able to talk about it more, because that she's definitely, I would definitely have a look at her website. She does a lot on Instagram, which is amazing, and she does a lot of talking about being true to yourself and following your instinct, and how everyone can only be themselves, and who they are is really, they should be confident in that and follow their heart. And some of those talks are so inspiring. And I remember there was once last October when I had 3-string orchestra pieces being recorded by this fantastic group in London, and I was so nervous about it. And the night before, I just happened to click on one of Jo's Instagram talks, and it made me feel so much better. So I don't think you have to work in the arts for that. It would sort of apply to anyone. So yeah, definitely recommend look at Little Jo Art on Instagram and look at her website.
Give us that transition moment. We were a journalist and a magazine editor, and then you decided that the composing was got to be part of your life. Can you just explain that a little bit to the listeners? Because I always think that was quite an interesting moment for you.
It was a bit more of a long-term thing. I was doing some journalism. I'm a trained classical musician, and then I dropped it for various reasons and went into journalism. And the magazine I was working on, I was doing local investigative research, and the owner of the magazine wanted to swap it back to lifestyle. So I left and went back into music. And then when I went back into music, I decided I would do things I couldn't do before, like play by ear and improvise. And I was with a violinist, we were doing duets, and I started arranging music with him. And eventually, inspired by the birth of my twin grandsons, I wrote my first little piece. And then over the next 3 or 4 years, I wrote a few more pieces and then sent it to publishers in, I think, 2021 for the first time. And that went very well. But it is fairly recent that I've actually composed. But yeah, it was a sort of gradual thing that really nothing that I had ever even dreamed of in my earlier life. So maybe that's partly why I've got some imposter syndrome, because I didn't ever expect this to happen, really.
Well, I think it's a wonderful story.
Thank you.
And a lovely journey and an inspiration.
Thank you.
You can do anything, really, if you want to put you... Well,
I think
you've got to have a go.
You can. Yes, I mean, I have got all the classical trainings. I went to music school at 14, so it's not like I've suddenly decided to do classical composing. But I really genuinely didn't ever think of myself in that way.
And I remember you talking last time, and I would recommend search for the interview that we did with Joanna Borrett a couple of years back. But I remember you talking about the fact that, you know, you had been classically trained, you had been taught to read music, and then it was really quite hard to start playing by ear, which is how a lot of people start.
Yes,
and then they do it the other way around. You were doing it the other way around, which is quite hard.
Well, yes, I think that's probably true for a lot of classical musicians, because you're always trained from the start to read music.
Yeah.
Whereas I know folk musicians, it's very often some of them can't read music at all, and they're all trained by ear. And I think it's a real pity that with the training, those two approaches aren't combined, because one doesn't cut out the other. And I think even for folk musicians, it's probably really helpful to be able to read music well, because it opens up an awful lot of other things that, you know, you can't do everything by ear. But I do think on the classical side, it is a huge loss that children aren't taught to play by ear from the beginning as well as reading music, and definitely even more aren't taught to improvise from the start, because they used to be, in Baroque times, definitely all musicians could improvise. So it's a pity, but you can do it yourself at any age. You can do it yourself if you teach yourself.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah.
So back to this getting together with, three of you at the moment. And I'm assuming that if anybody else wanted to join you, you would be in agreement for that, would you?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. We couldn't really think of anyone appropriate at the time, but I think, we definitely would. It's not a sort of totally exclusive thing. That would be wonderful.
It would be quite nice if you got together and did something between you, something artistic that included the music and the art as well.
That is a brilliant idea, really brilliant idea. I mean, I will pass that on at our next meeting. See what they say. It is a really good idea.
Yeah, you could put on an exhibition where you had, the music playing the mood music, if you like, for the different pieces of art.
Yeah, we did initially think, should we try? This is going really well. Should we try and make this bigger and do something on social media and encourage people to get in touch? And in the end, I think we just thought this is going to involve too much organisation, and we're so busy doing anything, and we don't want to do a load of admin. It's going to be too difficult to manage it. So we haven't done that. But I think if anyone wanted to just approach us, we would really love them to join us.
I really like the idea that you have reached out to other artists, not the same but creative. Just getting together and listening to each other, what you've been through, how you've got to where you are, and the woes or the worries that you have. And someone can say, well, actually, I went through that, but it wasn't as bad as you think. And I'm sure in your conversations you have had that, Joanna. So,
I think probably loads of people who work in the arts go through a lot of really similar experiences, and there are specific sort of pressures and difficulties you have working with the arts. I mean, one of them is that to be any good at it, you have to really put all of yourself into it, and then that feels very exposing when you sort of have to promote that and all the rest of it, and you don't know how people are going to react. And then I think, as I said, the thing of working on your own a lot of the time, which can be great if you're fairly introverted, that can be fine. But sometimes for me, it feels like it's a little bit I'm too much alone. And so, I think if people would like to meet up in a sort of relaxing way and generally supportive way, not trying to get business from each other, but just generally to chat, it would be a really good thing. And I'm guessing there must be other jobs as well as the arts where it's like that. Or maybe people working from home and doing similar type jobs. So
even just meeting up with... This reminds me, actually, of many years ago. I was working in London for a law firm, and I was the head of IT. Somebody set up some kind of networking group for other women who were head of IT in law firms.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So we all had the same issues. And a lot of them we had to keep our powder dry. I mean, obviously you're not going to give away any secrets of your friend. Yeah. But it was great just hearing that other people were facing exactly the same problem as you. You can't necessarily talk about that to your team if you've got a team around you. And it was just really, really good just to be able to talk about suppliers and software that was available in the market. Some people would try it out and go, don't touch it. All that kind of thing. And it became a really big thing, and it became a very successful thing, actually. So I'm completely relating to what you're saying about that sharing of ideas, and just somebody to go, oh my goodness, it isn't just me that feels like that.
Yeah.
And thank goodness it isn't just me that's having that problem.
Yeah, I think it can give you a lot of reassurance and a lot of confidence when you hear people saying or experiencing really similar things to that you're going through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm so pleased, Joanna, I'm so pleased to hear that Women Making Waves made that difference, because, you know, we do all of these shows individually, but it's so nice to hear that there's been a really good outcome from people meeting up with each other, and that's great.
Yeah,
great from our point of view.
I think this is a great programme, but I think if it also then provides links like that,
absolutely,
that's even better.
That is even better.
Yeah. So thank you.
and what are you doing at the moment? Have you anything that's on the burner?
Yeah, it's an exciting year for me. 3 of my string orchestra pieces have been recorded by this wonderful group, Her Ensemble, and they're all being promoted by Signum Classics. And the first one of those is coming out in April this year, April the 28th. It's a piece called Then for 2 violas and string orchestra. And then there's another piece called Rebellion at the end of July, and another one called Interlude at the end of October. So
wow.
It's really exciting.
You like your one-word pieces, don't you?
I love it.
I'm quite direct, yeah.
Just out of interest, where do you get your inspiration from? Is it something that do you write down? Like we had some previous guests that said when they think of things, they put it down on a text.
I'm not totally sure, but I usually have an idea in my head of something I want to say, and then I start experimenting. And sometimes that changes, and sometimes it just takes off very fast, and sometimes it doesn't, and it goes nowhere. So part of it is just having the silence and the space and the time to experiment, and also wanting to do it. You know, feeling you really want to say something. But
yeah. Joanna Borrett, thank you very much, and thank you also to little Jo Art, who's here in spirit with us.
Sure. Yeah.
And is a great person to follow, as is Joanna Borrett. Thank you very much, Joanna.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
You're listening to Women Making Waves radio show and podcast, brought to you by Susie Thorpe and Linda Ness. This show is all about women doing extraordinary things.
Ella Tebbutt and Grace Lowrie describe themselves as single mums, business owners and professional multitaskers. And they can now add podcasters to that list, because they decided to share their ideas on life in a podcast where they have discussions about the realities of being women, on motherhood, careers and running businesses, where they talk to each other and other female guests with no filters. Welcome to Women Making Waves, Ella and Grace.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
And the big hello, that's how you start your podcast, actually, isn't it?
Yes. It is.
We've been looking forward to you coming in to talk to us, because obviously there's synergies with what we do. But also, you know, some differences as well. And I see your core audience being mainly young women in similar situations to yourselves. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I would say so. We get a lot of feedback from our listeners who relate to us, who find us really relatable. But at the same time, we've had a lot of older women. I don't know if they've come maybe from my mum's friends, but I think, I would say our average listeners are between 25 to 40, 45.
Yeah, I think so. From the feedback, that's kind of the demographic I think that we're reaching. But we try and make our episodes relatable to a lot of people, and we actually, future guests coming on, we're hoping to actually broaden that even further to an older demographic as well. Mm-hmm. So we like to, but it's definitely mostly women focused.
Well,
yes.
Anyway, Linda, that's hopeful for
that's
us.
That's hopeful.
Yeah.
We can
If
start
they up the limit on the age, we
I've
might
been listening
be
to them a lot over the last few days, actually.
Actually, so have I. I love your podcast. I really do. I love the way you're really natural with it. You speak your mind, but you do it in a way that I listened to something in the car the other day, and then I thought, oh no, now I've got to stop the car and I've got to find the next episode. But actually, I should be well ahead of that. But I think you're great. You're really good.
Thank you.
And you're really good friends, aren't you?
Our best friends.
Yeah.
We're all like
So
sisters.
cool.
Yeah.
Yes, we share a lot of our lives together. We met at a baby group actually, and that's where we met. And
Nice.
Since then, my business is based in Ella's salon, so we spend a lot of work time together, and as well as social time. And
Yeah. We have the same days off, same days in at work. Yeah, so
we did plan that.
yeah, we did plan that. And our kids are now best friends as well, which
Yes.
works really well. So yeah.
You just mentioned about your best friends, and obviously this is a podcast about best friends and life and reality, which is so important these days, to be so honest about life.
Yeah.
But has your friendship changed in a way that you never imagined it to be, or did you just think, this is quite normal, this is what we do?
I would say I've personally never been friends with someone that I've related to so much. Mine and Grace's life is scarily parallel. When something happens to Grace or something happens to me, it tends to happen to the other one of us. We become single mums within a month apart, which was not planned, can I just say. And, you know, things that happen with our children. And so it feels different to me because I've never been best friends with someone that, you know, it's just worked and everything's been so relatable. And when we had the idea of the podcast, I said to you the other day, didn't I, it's so nice because I'm quite an ambitious person and I always follow through with things. I've had business ideas or hobby ideas with friends before and they've never had the same oomph as me. But I said to you the other day, didn't I, it's so nice to finally have a partnership with someone where they have that same drive as me. So yeah, I think if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does because we have that same sort of time, don't we? When we're starting a recording, we have about half an hour, we're just taking the mickey out of each other. And this is before we're going
I'm not
to
actually
record
taking the mickey, Susie. I'm serious.
No, come on, you're not. Well, don't say that now.
No, I'm joking.
But we do, so yeah.
Yeah. Now, to focus on each of you individually and learn a little bit about you, Ella, you run a salon called Ella Bellissima.
Ella Bellissima, yeah.
Ella Bellissima. What made you take that leap from employee to employer?
I was actually in lockdown and I was on furlough because obviously beauty wasn't able to run at all. And I always knew I'd wanted to go and be self-employed because I'd actually been self-employed before, but in a completely different career. I was a photographer. So I knew what self-employed life was like. And I just longed for that freedom again. So I knew that it was coming. I think having all that time off in lockdown made me just not want to go back to work. So I said that I'm going to start Ella Bellissima. All my family and friends said, you're crazy. We'll probably go into another lockdown, which obviously we did. But I just didn't let that stop me. And I, decided to not go back and set up in my living room.
Pandemic was a bit like that though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You just... This was so unreal to have it, and so people were coming up with ideas that they never thought about because you thought, well, this is happening. Why not try something that we thought might not happen is going to happen?
Exactly, and I had the time to write a business plan and create my logo, and I had all this time to just like build the brand and the business that when we were allowed to go back to beauty treatments, I was ready.
Yeah.
So,
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
And Grace, you run Lux Medical.
Yes.
Same question, really. How did you become a business owner or run your own business there?
I did everything pretty late in life, to be honest. I was a single mum in my early 20s, and that kind of put off sort of really getting into a career, going to university. And then as she got a bit older, my daughter, I worked in care. So I could kind of move my life around her, and I would do care work in people's homes. And that got me thinking, oh, actually, I kind of want to be a nurse. And I dipped my toes in beauty before, and I thought this actually might be a really good start because I could go into the aesthetics industry, which is something I'd always looked at. And I did work in nursing for a little while, but obviously, you know, nursing's really difficult and it's really time consuming having 2 children. I just really found it hard to work my life around work and kind of have that work-life balance. Nursing's really difficult, the 12-hour shifts. And so I just made the decision actually when I was pregnant with my son to use that time to train and set it up. And actually I started my business probably during pregnancy and went back to work probably when he was about 2 weeks old. And just started growing it from my ex-husband's mum's garage.
Oh, wow.
And kind of made that into a bit of a salon and then just went from there, really. But for me, taking that step a bit later, I had more of a drive. I had a reason. When I was a bit young, I think I just wanted to party all the time. And I wasn't really focused on, don't worry, mum will lend me money. And so I think having... my daughter at that time, it really pushed me into actually I've got to do something and I really want to make a life not just for myself but for her. And that's how it all really went.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And that's fantastic to have such a motivation, because when you're pregnant, you are knackered, absolutely knackered. And sometimes when you have a full-time job, you can rely on that job because it's very regulated. But suddenly you are pregnant and you've got to, not only you're having a child, but you're also doing something that is equally, quite tough. Quite tough to do. So I would say, well done you. Congrats. That's a big thing to do.
Thank you.
Huge.
We actually said the other day we wish we had the same drive in business now as we did pre-children. And I think the drive comes from having children and having children to provide for and wanting to build that amazing life. I think my business and your business has flourished since being mums. And I think, imagine how good it would have been to have that kind of drive and the money and everything else pre-children. And I just think I think it is we've got our children to thank for it, really.
So lovely.
Yeah, although in 20 years time you will have the money if you keep these businesses and growing them,
hopefully if the children don't suck it all out of us.
Well, there is that.
That's already started with my 12-year-old daughter.
Now, to the podcast that you do you think that working with people as you both do, because I go to a beauty salon occasionally, I know it don't look like I do, but I do sometimes, and there's a lot of chat goes on between yourself and the girl doing whatever she's doing. Do you find that background in this dealing with people all the time and chatting to them has really helped with the podcast?
Absolutely. We were saying earlier, weren't we? We speak to a lot of people who we try and get on the podcast and they say, I'm not confident enough. And we said on the way here, I can't imagine not being confident in talking, and you can't either. We're so confident when it comes to speaking on camera, speaking on the podcast. But I think it comes from our background speaking to clients. And even before both of us worked in beauty, we've always worked with people, whether it's you in care or me. I worked in retail for a long time. We're very good at being chameleons and if we're around certain people, we can kind of mould ourselves into the way they are. And so we're very people. So, and I think, that the podcast and having the confidence to speak to guests and ask questions definitely comes from our careers and working with people. And I think you've got to be a people person to work in the beauty industry 100%, because
hairdressing and all of that kind of thing.
A lot of the time people buy into people, don't they? We're good at what we do in terms of the treatments, but a lot of people come to us purely because it's us and they
feel like they're friends. And you'll know about them and they'll know about you, and it's what's going on with this side of your life at the moment and that kind of thing. That's certainly what I found.
When I was listening to you earlier, there was all sorts of questions that kept coming up. They're all good ones. But I think you talk about mum guilt, loss and the emotions and how it's a big weight for women to carry. But what topic you haven't covered that you're quite nervous about tackling? Is there something that you think, I'd quite like to talk about that? I just need to think about it.
And there's quite a lot, isn't there?
Yeah. There is quite a lot. And I think some obviously topics we want to talk about, but we have to be very mindful of who is listening and also that we don't want to upset anybody. I think we've definitely had a few with sort of women being single mums and the challenges they have to face when an ex-partner leaves the home. and managing that burden, sometimes not necessarily on their own, but doing a lot. Both mentally, physically and financially. And they're sort of the topics that we've spoken about maybe bringing into it, but we have to be very sensitive about things, particularly around our own families.
Because sometimes it's not even a choice. I mean, not saying choice, but when you become a single parent, you've either decided that the ex is no longer going to be in your life, or it could be that person's partner has died or has passed away or has actually gone away. He or she's been in the army or something, and you have no choice but to be a single mum. So you really, it's a very difficult one. So I'm glad you brought that up, because my mum was a single mum, and I know exactly what she went through, and so I really relate to it, being the daughter of a single parent. But it's a very tricky one, but I guess you want to tackle it, and good for you.
Yeah, we're just in the moment, like, we want to talk about certain things, but we just want to get it right. Yeah. So we're just doing our research, making sure we don't upset anyone, get in trouble, or do you know what I mean? Because there's other people to consider. But there's other topics we really want to talk about that are close to our hearts as well. Like, we've touched on it with the women's health episode. I'm not sure if you listened to that one. And things about like miscarriage awareness, we really want to do an episode on that, and we've got a good friend of mine who's suffered with multiple miscarriages who we're going to get on the show, and I think it'll be a real tough one to record, but I think it'll be really helpful for people. You know, and we had a guest on, Kirsty, recently. We touched on baby loss there, which was a real tough one to record, but some of the feedback we got from that of people that have been through similar, and I think people do find comfort in hearing other people go through the same situations. And I think the hardest episodes to record are the ones that we get the best feedback from, and if we can help anyone, like, in any way, that's why we're doing it. So
But you also did the right thing there, because you put a trigger alert on the description, saying what you were going to be covering, so that if anyone really didn't want to go there, they would be aware that was happening, which is the right thing to do.
Yes,
absolutely.
And do you do a lot of research before your interviews?
So with the guests, we do a lot of research, and we speak to them quite a lot before they come on. We write sort of prompts and kind of have guided questions that we might ask them. We definitely try to relate our podcast in a way to what's going on in the world as well. When we had our podcast, the one that's just gone out today, we were speaking about a piece that was just recently in the Times by India Knight, who said that some restaurants should be adult only. So we brought that into our speaking about how we feel about that, the moments we've had in restaurants with our children, and we try and bring in little snippets of what's actually going on, not to pretend that we know everything, but so we can talk about it.
Because it's current.
And we think that's what's really good about our podcast as well, because we like to tackle these things and kind of say what people might not want to say.
And we don't pretend to know everything, do we? We're just two women sat having a cup of tea and a chat about what's going on in the world, and every day we're sending each other videos on Instagram or TikTok of, we should talk about this, this needs to be spoken about, and we have like a shared notes folder, don't we, where we just write ideas, I want to talk about this and we got to talk about this, and but you're the main researcher, I'm the editor. I'm the tech.
Nice.
I'm the tech girl. I'm not tech minded.
I listened to the latest one, and I had no idea that there was talk about no children at restaurants and then restaurants, because like you, I would bring them in. I felt like I should be an Italian, because Italians love children.
I'm Italian. And I don't know what, do you know what, I listened back to the episode this morning. I always listen back to them, and I said I don't know why I didn't mention this in the podcast, because when you go to Italy or Spain, children are out, like they have these big squares and it's all about the family and food is just the main thing, and like the children are running around at like 10 o'clock at night, the parents are drinking wine, like, but here you wouldn't, if you had your kids out at 10 o'clock at night, you'd be like frowned upon, wouldn't you? Like,
it's true.
But it's
really different sort of lifestyle.
Yes,
it is.
And really here it is still kind of a little bit children should be seen and not heard.
I know.
In the background, and if they are making a fuss, there's kind of,
it's such a
looks
shame.
and-
The cross hands and the eye.
Yeah, so you feel that you've got to take them to certain types of places.
At certain times.
Exactly.
But I think the more you do it, the more people get used to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we touched on that as well. We said, children are part of society and this is the way they learn.
Yeah.
If you don't take them to restaurants or cinemas or shopping, they're not going to learn how to behave. They're not going to learn how to be around other people. And it's all about their growth as well, and
us
so
having a life as well.
Yeah.
Like we said, I've said this before. Like this is our motherhood, not just their childhood. Like if I want to go somewhere, they're coming with me. You know, we like we said, we went on a little weekend away, and we laughed and said that we thought the kids think this is for them. It's actually for us.
The Lake District episode.
Yeah, and it's like actually we can't get childcare all the time. So if we want to do something, you're coming with us.
Yes.
That is good. And you're right, it is how they learn.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And I just think, life shouldn't stop just because you've got children. And I think society needs to just kind of accept that, really.
Why did you come up with the idea of doing a podcast in the first place? Were you just sitting chatting together a lot and thinking, actually, this would make quite a good recording?
We used to joke about it all the time, like, oh, we should so start a podcast. Like the things like we could just sit and talk for hours, put the world to rights. And we joked about it that much that one day we were like, why don't we just do it?
Why don't we just do it?
I think because podcasts were just getting more and more popular, we love listening to them, and we were like, and because like I said, I'm quite techie, I was like, I'm sure I could
figure this
out. And it was when we were on holiday, we said, right, this is it. We're going to come home and we're going to do it. And we just did it, but we didn't expect it to blow up. I'm not saying it's blown up, but the response has been amazing.
It really has.
And we came in the top 100 episodes in Apple, which was unreal.
Yeah,
that's great. And when did you start doing this? Not all that long ago, was it?
I think
end of October,
end of
start of November.
Yes.
So you've been doing it about 6 months, not even that?
Yeah,
that kind of time?
yeah. I think we've done 10 episodes, 11 episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's been really good. So we're just hoping now it just keeps going and going. We just thought this was going to be a little side hobby, and we were like, oh my God, this could actually be like another little career, hopefully,
Yeah.
That's what we kind of dreamed about that now. We were like, that'd be amazing. So who knows?
Who knows indeed, yeah. Excellent stuff.
The one that you made today, which was very interesting, you were talking about feminism, and you said, I really like it when a guy opens the door for me. I do too, but I wanted to get your opinion because we're all really strong. I get the impression that we all want to get on and do things, no matter if we have a partner with us or not. It would be great to have somebody who was able to do it with us, but if not, this is what we're all about.
Yeah.
But I got this question asked to me. The guy said to me, why are you feminists like, don't you like it when men open the door for you? I said, of course I do. I think it's polite. It's wonderful. But I would also like to open the door for you. And you know what? It completely flummoxed him. He didn't know what to say or what to do. It was like, oh, yes, that would be nice. It was this thing about we always have to do that for you women. No, you don't. We can do it for you as well. But it was an interesting subject.
Yeah.
And I really liked the way you brought that up because you had side to things that I hadn't thought about. So I loved that. And I love the way you can relate to lots of things.
When we spoke initially, you said that it's important to create spaces where women feel seen, heard, and supported. And I think that must be one of the key things that you're trying to do here as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we wanted as well to create a space where, I don't want to use the word ordinary, but I feel like, when we see people on podcasts, guest speakers, there's a lot of celebrities and influencers, which we love. And, we'd love to eventually have celebrities and influencers, but we will never forget, your everyday woman, and we wanted to give the everyday woman space to talk about their story, and we focus a lot on what we call the local heroes, don't we?
Yeah.
Whether that's local business women or local mums who, you know, might be going through a challenging time and things like that, and people that wouldn't necessarily be given the platform to share their story. And I think we just want all women, whether you are a celebrity or never had a picture taken before, whatever you do, we want to give all women the chance to be heard and seen. And I think every story is important. And I just think we just want to be relatable. And I think at the moment in society, it's quite hard to relate to celebrities and influencers. I love them dearly, but we want our listeners to relate to us and our guests.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the most interesting people can be the woman that lives in the next street.
Absolutely.
And she's not a professor, and she's not got some high-powered job, but she's maybe doing something really, really interesting. I've always got this idea that you could virtually pluck anyone off the street, put them down in front of a mic, and you can coax out something absolutely fascinating and, you know, really listenable as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that was absolutely our intention, wasn't it? And it was really important to us as well, going back to what Ella said about podcasts being very celebrity and influencer focused. Sometimes, not always, they may not say, because of their status, certain things and comment on certain things about life or work or motherhood. And we felt, being just two girls from Newmarket, we could speak our truth essentially and actually tell people. I mean, we did a Christmas episode and we said at one point, oh my gosh, I hate that elf on the shelf. I really hate him when he comes out. And you know, you're seeing on social media with all these, how much fun it is. Actually, sometimes it's not that fun, and it may be for some people, but we thought that was what was great about what we wanted to do. We wanted to show sometimes the realities of working and having kids, dating, not being a single mum, and we wanted the actual kind of nitty gritty as well, a little bit as well.
Is there anything that you wouldn't cover on your podcast, do you think?
Men coming in? I'm joking. No, we're not man haters, I promise. I know some of our episodes sound, I do sometimes listen back and I'm like, oh God, are we ever going to find love? Because they probably think we hate men. No, I don't know. I think, no.
I don't think there's nothing that we wouldn't
unless we couldn't legally speak about it.
Maybe wouldn't delve too much into politics right now. No, I think we'd avoid that for the time being.
Be wise.
That's from the beauty industry, isn't it? In the salon, we always there's just a hidden. It's just an unwritten rule. You don't talk about politics, do you?
No. Politics and religion.
Politics, not religion. Yeah. So no politics, no religion talk. So we'll probably lead that onto the podcast. Yeah, we won't talk about that. Yeah,
we'll leave that to Piers Morgan, I think.
And I was just going to ask you, if you were talking to your younger self and you've come so far now, I mean, I know you've only done this podcast since October, but it sounds like you've been phenomenal and getting so much stuff. But if you could go back in time, what would you tell somebody doing something very similar to you or just starting something? I think you learned, you thought, I wish I could tell my younger self, or even younger women, if what they could do now, what would be one sort of learning curve for them?
I think don't be afraid and just take a chance. At the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen, really?
Yeah. That's absolutely right.
I would say don't care about what other people think. I wasted too many years of my younger years caring what other people think, and for the last 5 years I would say I really don't care what anyone thinks, and it's the most refreshing, amazing feeling. And what I've achieved since not caring has been amazing. So I would tell my younger self, stop caring. Just
Ella, it takes people usually to be about 55 before they reach that. So well done to you for getting there so soon, because it really does normally take a long time.
I think don't be afraid to be you as well. We live in a world where we watch what everyone else is doing and we compare ourselves to others all the time. And having a 12-year-old daughter, that's one of the things I really do try and put over to her, you know, you are you, and who you are is really special, and you don't need to be like everybody else. Just be you. And I think that's really important. I wish I'd been a little bit more like that when I was younger.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, in our last podcast, we talked about social media and teenagers. That is a great topic for you guys to cover, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether you're going to let them, you know, use social media, whether you're going to stop them, how you're going to handle it, because it's really, really difficult.
It's really scary. Really scary.
It is on our list, isn't it? That actually.
It is. And me having a big age gap between my daughter, who's 12, my son, who's 3, I am doing things completely different with my son. I was one of the mums who let my daughter have the phone. I can be lucky if I get 2 words out of her sometimes, just on that. On that, and I wish I hadn't have done it. So it's all a learning curve, isn't it?
You and millions of other people are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. It's been great speaking to you today.
Really lovely.
Thank you so much.
Apart from the fact we've got lots in common, it's just great speaking to you.
Thanks
So
for having
thank you
us.
very much, Ella and Grace. Now, what's the name of your podcast? We must get that in because we haven't mentioned it yet.
So it's called Thriving and Surviving, and you can find us on Instagram at thrivingandsurviving.pod, and the link is there to listen to the podcast on anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah, and it links back to that site.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely excellent. Thank you very much for joining us today on Women Making Waves.
For having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You're listening to Women Making Waves radio show and podcast, brought to you by Susie Thorpe and Linda Ness. This show is all about women doing extraordinary things.
That's all we have time for today on Women Making Waves. Our thanks go to our guests this week, Ella Tebbutt, Grace Lowrie and Joanna Borrett.
We are always on the lookout to feature women living extraordinary lives, so please do contact us if you know of someone we should be talking to.
You can contact us via social media on X and Facebook at WomenMW or on Instagram at Women Making Waves.
You can also find us on cambridge.radio or visit our website womenmakingwaves.co.uk, where you can hear all of our interviews.